of facilitators. So I don't want to introduce everyone because we have no time for that, but thank you that you all are here and that you will guide the participants through the breakout sessions. That's great. And yeah, what's the plan for today? So first, there will be a short Q&A session. So maybe you have any questions from the self-study phase, then we can discuss this in the plenary. After that, I had announced it in the last webinar. We would like to talk about the thought experiments from Joel Westheimer. And then we have a quick impulse from Ahmed about a country analysis we did. And after that, we have a very practically breakout session where you have to, or where you can create your own service learning project to promote democratic competencies. And I hope so that there will be some brave participants or brave facilitators, or hopefully one who will share the ideas of the group then in the plenary, and we can discuss this idea. And at the end of this webinar, we have a quick outlook what's coming next. So is there or are there any questions regarding to the self-study phase? Yes, there's one brave man. Welcome, Wilma.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, I have two questions. One of them is more pragmatic, and the other one is more theoretical. I start with the most pragmatic one. The model, I mean, this reference framework of competence for democracy has several different competences. If I want to focus on one of them and promote it with my students, where do I get ideas, information, guides for promoting this competency in the framework of the service learning project?
Okay, so yeah, good question. So you have here this again, these 20 competencies of the RFCDC, and you have this. I think there are 3 volumes for the RFCC on the website of from the Council of Europe, and in volume 2 you have these 400 descriptors. So what are the grades of the different competencies? But in volume 3 you have to each competencies you have ideas how you can foster it. And there will be, so we are not in time, but there will be a small handbook from the foundation in Germany, the Service Learning Foundation in Germany. So we created our own service learning competency model. It's a little bit more practical than this one, and there will be promoted a lot of ideas how you can foster special competencies who are addressed in this model. And your second question is?
Yeah, thank you so much. And my second question is more theoretical. I mean, this about not specific about the model, but the competency-based approach. This competency-based approach has been implemented locally and worldwide. Based on this, it can be said that the approach enjoys legitimacy and acceptability. However, there are critical perspectives such as the Latin America perspective of liberation psychology and liberation pedagogy, which refers that the competency-based approach, by offering standardization, runs the risk of the contextualization and reducing the educational process themselves. For example, by reducing teacher autonomy and ignoring the articulation with local and specific social, political, and cultural realities. The question is, do you think that this model runs the same risk, or is it enough to put terms or concepts such as cultural diversity in the value section or analytical and critical thinking in the skills section to say that these criticisms do not apply in this model?
Thank you very much. I think it's a very fundamental question. So, and maybe I try a short answer, but maybe we have to discuss this to another in another meeting. But so I agree with your critic of standardization. I think that's right, but I disagree that competencies leads to it inevitable. So I argue that emphasizing competencies does not inherently lead to reductionism and decontextualization. So including competencies, like you said, valuing cultural diversities, openness to cultural otherness and other beliefs, tolerance of ambiguity, critical thinking, and so on. I think they are fundamental steps towards making educational content more relevant and connected to learners' realities. And also the competencies-based approach means that you focus on students and their circumstances. They are the starting point for your planning process. You ask what the students actually need in their situation, and by encouraging educators to design curricula and learning activities that reflect their students' specific needs and backgrounds, a link between the competencies and the social and political and cultural realities of the learners can be established. And if you take the competencies-based approach seriously, you couldn't do a learning activity twice in the same way. Even this webinar, so we have to take in mind who's the target group, what are the needs of the participants. So some of you told us that in the feedback that you want it more practically, so we have to do this. Maybe another group of participants would like to have it more theoretically or more theoretical details. So we had to plan this webinar in a completely different way. And by aiming to equip learners not just with knowledge, but with the skills or with the competencies to critically apply and transfer this knowledge to new contexts, proponents highlight the empowerment of individual to act as active and reflective participants in the society. So overall, I believe that through careful and reflective implementation, the potential pitfalls you addressed can be avoided, and the competency-based approach can provide an enriching and emancipatory educational experience that takes into account both, so the individual and the collective needs and goals.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Professor Marcos.
Okay. So are there other questions?
We had one question from Maureen Porter, which was directly addressed to Wilma, so you can answer this question directly into the chat.
Okay. So are there other questions? So if there are no other questions, we go further. So as I said, the last time I would share your thoughts about the thought experiment we shared in the self-study phase. So Joe Westheimer, a researcher from Canada, has this thought experiment in every speech he gives. So, and he says, so imagine that you're rising up into the space and through the different phases of the atmosphere, and then you are sitting in the space and it's really quiet and you can breathe and you can look on the earth and it's really beautiful, this blue ball down there, and the earth is slightly turning, and then suddenly you go down, and then you land in a classroom anywhere on earth, you don't know where, and then he's asking you, would you be able to say if you were landed in a democratic country or in a totalitarian dictatorship? Would you be able? What do you think about this question? Someone writing in the chat? No. So what do you think?
As I heard it the first time, I thought, yes, I would be able. And after a minute of thinking, I was like, okay, maybe not, because maybe not at the first sight, and maybe I had to look better. But I don't think you always can decide. So maybe some situations can give you a hint, but in general, I don't think it's always possible. No.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Lena. Great. And there are some announcement in the chat, so a lot of freedom of speech. Achi, another one?
We had also different opinions, also freedom of speech. Then there was also try to understand the language talking, and then individuals can talk together. Students would feel their voice is heard.
Okay. So yeah, but maybe this is a dream sometimes. So I don't think that even in democratic states, every student is feeling that his voice or her voice is heard. So yeah, and I think it's really great to think about it. And then Joel Westheimer is going the next step. So then he said, okay, think about what should be different in schools, in democratic societies, and in totalitarian dictatorships. And then I think he addresses a lot of the things they appeared in the chat. And after that, he asked the question, so what should be different about citizens in democratic societies and totalitarian dictatorships? And then I think this is the right step to go back to the RFCC. So I think that citizens in totalitarian dictatorships have a nice job, so they don't have to do anything. They have just to follow the rights and don't think about anything, just to do what they are said to do. And I think so then we can have, or then we have these connections to the 20 competencies of the RFCC, that citizens in democratic societies should be able to have these 20 different competencies regarding to your idea or your concept of democracy. So yeah, so I think it's enough for that thought experiment. Achi, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So we as the project team of SLEAD had conducted a country analysis, a comparative analysis of democratic competences in service learning through the countries of Austria, Germany, Greece, and Portugal and Romania. And I wanted to show you the key facts, the aims of this analysis, and where to find it. Nächste Seite. So we would like to highlight the necessity to embed service learning deeply with European educational systems to promote democratic competences. So the current state of service learning, which was an outcome of this analysis, was that service learning is yet to be firmly established as a method within European democratic school culture. And there exists a significant gap in integrating service learning in curricula and local support for teachers. So the missing elements for effective service learning integration are curriculum integration and teacher support, professionalization and support, and also the research funding. So these were the key elements that we were were an outcome of this analysis that is needed to integrate service learning and integrate it into curricula in Europe schools. Next page. So there were also requirements for pedagogical development and also teacher training and service learning, which means that we have to emphasize the need of professional competences of teachers, appropriate resources and time for designing and implementing service learning, and also importance of training strategies and the establishment of extracurricular cooperation networks so that schools also can develop connections to out-of-school projects or NGOs, and also in teacher training and service learning, it's mandated that service learning and citizenship education is an essential component in teacher training for all subjects, not only for political or history, it's also for biology and other STEM subject relevant. So it's also to highlight the role of experimental knowledge alongside factual knowledge for teachers so that you get the experience. Also, if we are working together today, that's the first step how to create good service learning projects in school. And at least one outcome of this analysis was that the professional development of teachers and also democratic attitude in reflection. So it's focused on development of teachers' competencies, of their values, beliefs, motivational orientation, and also self-regulation, and the construction and reconstruction of conditions for successful experience in democratic education as essential to teacher training settings. So, and also democratic attitudes has to be reflected also on a professional way as teachers. It's really important for teachers to regularly reflect on their democratic attitude, considering its variability and influenced by social experiences. And also its conscious reflection as it means to sustain and develop a democratic attitude. So these were the key findings of the country analysis for these countries which were conducted, and you can find this analysis on our homepage at SLEAD-Europe EU on resources, but I will give you the link directly into the chat, and you can download the whole analysis there, and you can read it and get an in-depth space on how service learning in Europe is working or can be conducted and what is necessary to implement service learning in schools. Thank you very much.
So thank you. And the next step is already the breakout session. So we will divide you in 11 groups. So about 6 to 7 participants. and you have one facilitator who will guide you through the creation process or the planning process of a service learning project. And so there are several steps, so 7 steps we will guide you through. So first we invite you to choose one of the democratic competencies from the RFCC, which should be promoted in the service learning project. So we have to you have to do a decision, a democratic decision maybe, in your group very quickly. After that, you can maybe you can remind the 6 quality standards of service learning projects. So one of them was the real need. So and that's the step number 2. So identify in your group a real need that you would like to address in your service learning project. And then quality standard number 2 is, so to say, which subjects are included, what content from the curriculum is addressed, so that we have the curriculum connection. And then step number 4 is to think about what possibly cooperation partners are there outside the school to address this real needs. So who's the one you choose to cooperate? So to leave the school and to find a cooperation partner is another quality standard. And then participation is another quality standard. So step number 5, how can students participate in the design of the project? What are the steps where the students can decide what are the steps of the project? And then step 6 is which exercises do we incorporate so that students can make targeted use of the selected democratic competencies. So it refers to step 1. So you have to think about what can you do that you address maybe tolerance of ambiguity, or maybe another competence from the RFCC, so openness to cultural otherness and other beliefs maybe. So what is the special exercise or step in the project to address this chosen democratic competence? And then step number 7 is reflection. So what questions do we use in the reflection to make students aware of the learning process in relation to the chosen democratic competence? So you will guide it from the facilitator through the 7 steps. And yeah, hopefully you are creative and motivated to develop your own service learning project. You can decide in the beginning if you would like to simulate that you are all colleagues in the same school, or if you like to simulate that you are colleagues from different school and create a cross-border project maybe. So that's a decision by you. Yeah, and then have fun and yeah, create a brilliant service learning project. So, and we will come back to the plenary in 50 minutes. So now it's 4:30. So we will meet again at 5:20. So yeah, we will see. And in the breakout session, there will be a short break included. You can decide between which step you will have this break. So I hope it is clear. So see you in 50 minutes. Have fun. All very creative moments, and you have created great service learning projects, and maybe there is one brave participant or one brave facilitator who would like to share the ideas with the plenary.
I'd be willing to do it.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Jens.
I think it would be nice if you could share maybe the Google Doc where I took notes, group 5. Yeah, perfect. I have to say that was a really very enjoyable group we had with very motivated and interactive participation. We had a great group. We were, I think, 5 or 6, out of which 2 persons, Betty and Michael, were joining from Kenya, and Rakula from Romania, and Andrea from Germany, and me from Greece. So it was really a global, I have to say, a global group. And obviously, we went through the process of the 7 steps. And first, we thought about, okay, what democratic competence can we promote? And the first idea that was brought in was to select analytical and critical thinking skills as the main focus. But also, a little bit further in, we also thought that self-efficacy, which, you know, I slashed it and I called it also talking about self-esteem as a result, by, you know, understanding that if you can do something purposefully, if you have an impact, that also strengthens the self-esteem. So these were the 2, we cheated a bit, we chose two things that we wanted to focus on. And the topic that we discussed that was necessary was kind of like the need for young children, teenagers to set boundaries, to also be able to say no when it comes to, let's say, behavior that crosses certain limits. I don't necessarily want to say sexual abuse, but you know that they need to strengthen their self-esteem to have more self-empowerment when it comes to my own body, and not to be so easily manipulated, maybe, because at least in some of the countries that were present, that was perceived as a real problem at the moment. So that was kind of like the ground idea. And, you know, when we discussed about this real need, we had some discussion about is it the needs of the students, the needs of the school, the needs of society, and we kind of agreed that obviously you cannot really distinguish so easily, because what is the need for the students might be also a need for the society. So there were some questions if it has to be something that needs to really be outside of the classroom, that a problem that you identify in the surrounding of the schools, but clearly if it affects also the children in the class, then this is obviously, since we're all part of the society, or you know, a criterion that we checked. First, when we thought, how can we make this topic of setting boundaries part of the curriculum, in the beginning I was a bit skeptical if this is really possible. But the more we talked about it, the more we understood there are many connections to various curricula, especially the older kids. And while we talked about it, we came up with the idea that the older kids might be able to create a theater play or songs or dances or poetry, even, to teach younger kids about the importance, the necessity to say no. You know, my body belongs to me, or, you know, this is going too far. And obviously, this has to do with sociology, with biology, life skills. It's something, a new concept going to be integrated in Kenya, if I understood it, or it's existing. But also, if you do studies, or if you want to focus, you can also connect it to math, to do some statistical analysis, maybe. And obviously, if you are talking about creating a theater play or some music, then arts and music is nice. So we understood in the process that connecting it to many subjects also has the advantage of more teachers, more time that you have available. Well, what does the project have to do with pregnancy missing school? As I said, that was one of the things we talked in the beginning, that because of lack of self-esteem and manipulating behavior, at least in some of the participating countries. There was a link to more teenage pregnancy and teenage pregnancy leading to school dropout. As I said, I don't want to go now too big into the problem. It was, we didn't have a lot of time to really analyze the situation in all of the countries. But yeah. So step 5, step 4, the cooperation partners. Obviously, it's important to talk with people in the community that are dealing with problems like this. So NGOs, parents should be involved. Parents need to be encouraged. The municipality. So theater pedagogy groups that are, where there are already a lot of activities in this field could be involved, could be contacted, maybe to create a new theater play together. So it was quite easy to come up with possible cooperation partners. How can students participate in the design of the project? First, obviously, they need to, for themselves, to understand the problem. And this is then our connection to our analytical and critical thinking skills. Once they read about it, or they learn through case studies, through talking to experts, they understand that there is this problem, or maybe they have even experienced it themselves to some extent. They are encouraged to create the theater play. So creating a theater play, thinking about what is the message we want to pass along. This is also one step we said, that it's important for them first to understand what is the message that can be passed along that can help prevent this. So I think there are plenty of possibilities for students to participate in the design and in the implementation of the project, setting the topics and so on and so on. And then also I think it's clear what kind of exercises can we incorporate. A lot of analysis, talking with experts, discussions, maybe doing a survey among peers, maybe in other schools, maybe in their own school, maybe outside with the, yeah. And can you move up a bit? Yes, I mean, time was also getting short, but I think you get the main idea. And about the reflection, specifically on how can they reflect on those 2 skills that we selected. We thought that a reflection journal might be making a lot of sense, because it's obviously a process that is taking a long time. So if they regularly write down how they feel, or what they have learned, or how they perceive the problem, and they look back at the end of the project to the beginning, how did I look at it then, and what did I learn in the process? I think that makes them also realize how far they have come along in terms of analytical skills or critical thinking skills. And obviously, if they're participating in the play, putting it even on stage, seeing that it gets accepted, or that they are even performing themselves, that is being performed, what they have created, that should also help them with their self-esteem. Yeah. So please, Andrea, Betty, Ragula, Michael, if I forgot to mention anything, feel free to speak up. But in a nutshell, that was what we came up with in these 50 minutes.
So thank you very much, Jens.
Perfect brief.
Sorry?
That's a very perfect brief from Jens.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's right. So he did a great job. Thank you very much for that. So I think we have an idea of your project you created. So maybe I can add to step 7 something. So I think it's really important that I think it's great ideas. You have this journal, so you can write down your answers to, but I think it's really important that you have special questions who address these competencies. So you choose them, and maybe I can just go to step 7 in our project, because I think it's we discussed. So first we had an proposal that someone said, so have I completed my tasks correctly? And then I asked, so what means correctly? Who decided if you did this correctly? And I think that's so we decided to promote self-efficacy. And I think it's really important that you be careful how is the wording of your questions in that way, because I think it's better than you ask, so maybe what I'm particularly proud of achieving by myself. So if you want to address self-efficacy, I think it's really important to ask the right questions. Just a small amendment. So, but have everyone a question to Jens and the group about the project?
You can also use the chat.
I don't know.
Can
So,
I just add something? Because
yes,
some participants ask if they can have access to this document because there are so many interesting ideas. So we can send it as a follow-up email in 2 days so you all have access to the document.
Yeah, that would be my next sentence, but thank you. Thank you for
Perfect.
thank you for addressing that. So we will provide you that document. So maybe there are some inspiring ideas about other projects. Okay. So great. So there's one question. No. Okay. So then I see you all again. So then we can go to the next step. Don't know exactly. 1 minute, please. So I think the next step is already that we, yeah, that, so please evaluate this webinar. It's really important for us to make it better next time. And so you have this link, and Ale is putting this link in the chat so you can fill in this evaluation form. Yeah, okay, there it is. So great. Thank you, Ale. So please take your time to fill in the evaluation form, and then what are the next steps? Felix and Maria, it's your part.
All right. You have now concluded the second module of our training program, which in total consists of 10 webinars. In the first module, you learned about the basics of service learning, and in the second module, meaning the seminar 2 weeks ago and also today, you reflected on the question, how can we use service learning processes for strengthening the democratic competences of our students. Congrats for having completed these 2 modules. There is a third module, and this third module is designed in kind of a buffet mode. So you could choose the topics you're interested in, and these webinars are not consecutive. What do I mean by this? We started with first 2 seminars in module 1 and then 2 seminars in module 2, and it was important that you have attended the respective previous webinar. Now you're free to choose, and every webinar is something you can also enjoy individually before having participated in another one. You find all the dates on our SLEAD webpage. Perhaps, Marcus, you could close your screen sharing, and then I can share my screen. Thanks a lot. So you go to our website, SLEAD-Europe.eu, and you find the training section here. And in this section, you also have information on Module 3. There was one seminar already, which was targeting school leaders, meaning directors, principals. We will have a seminar next week on the question, how can we use service learning to also raise awareness and increase discussions on the European elections, which are coming up in June of this year, and also the question of what is European service learning or cross-border service learning in Europe. This will be next week, next Wednesday at our usual time at 4 p.m. CET. And then 2 weeks later, we will have a seminar on service learning in the STEM subjects. STEM meaning the subjects which are kind of like the natural sciences, as you probably are all aware. And also in these subjects, of course, you can strengthen your the democratic competences of your students. We will then in April have 2 webinars on practical tools and methods. These seminars are designed in a way that you can have concrete methods you can apply in your classes. And the final conclusion will be a contact-making webinar where you find possibilities to connect with each other if you like to implement a cross-border project or to have a joint reflection, for example, with the students who have implemented service learning processes in another country. These are the upcoming webinars. You can find all the information on our website. Of course, you're also more than welcome to finish the self-study phase on the NILA campus. I think as of today, there are more than 80 persons having enrolled in the first part of the training, the self-learning phase, and only, I think, 30-something in the second part. So if you haven't done so, please feel free to take part. What else is to say? Of course, you are more than welcome to connect with each other. You have the possibility to just contact persons now and say, hey, I would like to continue the conversation with you. You can also send us as a project team emails. And you can also use the project space on the NILA campus in order to interact with other participants of our course. This is not the end, of course. I assume that we will see each other in one of the upcoming webinars. I'm very much looking forward to this, actually. And as you've realized, we as project partners from Portugal and Germany and Austria and Romania and Greece will also distribute the next webinar. So some will be led by us from Germany, some will be led by our Romanian, Portuguese, Greek, Austrian colleagues.
We have one
Well,
question in the chat.
yes.
Which webinars must we visit in order to get the certificate?
Yes,
This
maybe I
is over
can
to you,
take
Marianne.
over while Felix is breathing. Okay, I also want to underline that we are in the middle of the training, and thank you for your participation and until now, and we're looking forward to see you to the next webinars of Module 3 as Felix presented already. There are some administrative elements. I'll try to go through all of them. The first, I already said, the document that you worked on today is going to be sent by you by a follow-up email on Friday, as you usually receive all the materials from the training. The self-study is on process because it was other questions about self-study. So you have the link in the chat. We're also going to send it again for the people who didn't have the chance to go through the self-study. Related to certificates, it was announced that the participants will receive certificate, the ones who participated in the majority of Module 1 and Module 2, which just ended. And we are going to issue the certificates in May. So we'll kindly invite you to wait until May because it's so many lists and of participants that we need to process. So they are coming. We're in the process with that. And thank you for filling in the evaluation form that it was sent 2 weeks ago. It was a pre-evaluation form. Many of you filled it. We appreciate it, and we want to offer our gratitude that you're taking all the time to give us feedback. It's very much appreciated. For people who didn't manage to fill the evaluation form that it was sent 2 weeks ago, unfortunately, we cannot send it again because it was a pre-evaluation before module 2 and 3, but it does not affect you very much. But all of you are going to receive an evaluation form on all the entire training is going to end up. Somebody else also asked if we can share the contact list. We don't have a right answer right now. We need to discuss in our partnership if this is possible, since there is this GDPR rules that we need to follow. So we're going to get back to you when we have a specific answer. I think that's it. If there is any other questions in the chat, maybe Ahi, you can help me to see if I missed any administrative question.
Yes, there were one question. Could we get contact lists of participants who are in each of the different countries so that we can network? I already answered that due to data protection, this won't be possible. So we need to discuss this internally. And also, there was one question concerning the self-study materials. Am I right that there is just one structured course and all other materials is a kind of buffered?
Felix?
Yes, that's true. That was the idea. There are self-learning phases for module 1 and module 2, and there won't be any additional ones. The third module is this buffet style where you can just choose one, and there are also no self-learning phases for each upcoming webinar in module 3.
Mm-hmm. We
But there will be methods provided.
Yeah, we want all of you in the next webinars. We're getting even more practical. Today we just started. Okay. Marcus,
So
give
thank
the
you
mic
very
to you
much
back.
to all. So to all participants to take part in this webinar today. Thank you very much to all facilitators today to guide the participant through the 7 steps of create a service learning project. And we are looking forward to see you in the next webinar. See you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye-bye.